So I just saw Mufasa the Lion King, and it was eh. Now The Lion King is one of my favorite movies of all time. The movie does show the best that Disney could offer, with its beautiful animation, amazing songs and soundtrack, and a great cast of characters. The only issue I have is some story elements, but despite that, it still made it up for me, and the movie still holds up to this very day. When it comes to the live-action Disney remakes, I think I've only seen like, I don't know, 5? The most I can remember is Maleficent, which I thought it was terrible, and I believe The Jungle Book, but I only remember parts of it, so I'm not sure it's really a fair judgment, but if you want my opinion on that, it was alright. I thought the ending was good. It's actually kind of different this time. Oh yeah, Christopher Walken sucked.
Obi-Doo, I wanna be like you. I wanna walk like you, talk like you too.
But it's no secret that these movies make $1 billion. So naturally, Disney and their creative live-action remakes, it was only inevitable that they're gonna have one for The Lion King. And sure enough, like the ones before, it also made $1 billion. But you want to talk about the quality, especially with people who like the original, I think this movie really sucks. Especially when Jon Favreau wanted to make this into a documentary from a movie where the point was that it was an animated musical and not a documentary. And although I think the animation was impressive, my issue comes from the fact that it's trying to do both at the same time. Yeah, it's good they want to be hyper-realistic. Why are the animals dancing around like a musical number? Why the fuck does Rafiki have the stick? How come some of the animals sound completely different? Yeah, it's good that they try to be a musical. How come everything feels so boring then? How come everything feels lifeless then? And how come all the songs suck? It doesn't really mash together well. And the thing is, I don't think Jon Favreau's idea was inherently bad, because when he was producing Prehistoric Planet, it had the same idea and goal, and it was actually really good and successful. In fact, I highly recommend it. But out of all the things he chose The Lion King, a thing that's actually trying to do the opposite of what he's trying to do. Very fascinating, John. But sure enough, it didn't really matter in the end. Disney made $1 billion and we lost the war again. And sure enough, it had a sequel. Only this time, Jon Favreau was not involved, but instead Barry Jenkins, the guy who directed Moonlight. But this is not about Moonlight, this is about Mufasa the Lion King. And yeah, it was Mufasa the Lion King. And I'm not gonna lie, I think this might be better than the last one.
Do not attempt to move or we'll be shooting ourselves.
Now, hear me out. I'm not saying it's a huge improvement, but the reason why I say this is the animation with the animals is 10 times better than the last one. They actually emote and feel here this time. And you can actually tell what they're thinking and feeling. And the thing is, they actually still balance the realism as well here. They're not going over the top and crazy with it. They still feel realistic enough as it is, but you can still tell what they feel. Compare this Mufasa from this one to the one from 2019, and it's almost night and day. I don't know if it was Barry Jenkins or someone at Disney course correcting, but this was actually the best decision they had done, at least for these types of films. Unfortunately, it's the only praise I could give it here because the rest of the movie was meh. The songs were kind of forgettable. Yeah, sure, they did some themes from the original Lion King movie, and I did like the use of African-style music, which ironically enough made it feel more like, well, a documentary. But you're talking about the musical songs? They're just really mid to just plain bad. We got songs like I Always Wanted a Brother, We Go Together, and Bye Bye, which, no joke, might be the worst villain song I heard in a long time. One criticism of the 2019 film is that because it's more live action, you don't have the advantage of making the musical sections more brighter, more colorful, and more expressive, like the original one did. But because their goal is trying to be more realistic, it doesn't have that advantage and becomes more, well, bland and boring because of it. The new one tries to do this, but by the halfway point, they kind of seem like they just gave up by then. When they did the other musical sections, it kind of felt more the same as the other one. And it kind of makes me wonder, why even is this a musical at all? This movie would have been about lions having an adventure together, and it would have been better in my opinion. Like, if you want to have a musical section, why not just do it like a more CGI version like this? Like how Disney Animation and Pixar are doing. Wouldn't that be a better choice? The story is basically Rafiki telling a story. He's telling his tale to Kiara from Lion King 2, who apparently is the daughter of the actress from the last film, and she wasn't really great in this one. In fact, she was pretty terrible. And Timon and Pumbaa were also there, and they were also kinda terrible. They basically riff on the entire story like they did in Lion King 1.5, which a lot of people seem to really hate. But I'm not gonna lie, it was actually one of the better parts of the movie. and actually made me chuckle here and there. But maybe it was more the fact that the overall story was actually kind of shit. Basically, it has the same problem most other prequels. If you've seen the thing, you kind of already know what's gonna happen anyway, which would be fine if the story was engaging, like with Transformers 1. The problem was, it really wasn't. They tried to do this epic tale again, both Mufasa this time, but there really is no need to tell this entire story. All we really know is that Mufasa and Scar's relationship is that it's strained, and Scar had a scar, and that's really it. But what's really funny about this movie is that Mufasa and Scar are not really brothers here, which after watching the film, it doesn't really justify why. Basically, Mufasa and his parents go to a watering hole, and they get killed by a flood or something. Scar and his mom take him in, but Scar's father is a big racist. He doesn't bring in outsiders, especially beyond the bloodline. But against all odds, they do become brothers. Mufasa gets raised by the female lions, and Scar gets raised by the male lions, which sit there and do fucking nothing. Some shenanigans happen, and then we have these evil white lions, which I thought they were from the snow area, but no, they live in this, like, I don't know, evil swamp or something, which is also white. And they pretty much kill all other lions, I guess. And the main villain wants revenge because his son got killed by a tree. Really doesn't really matter, and it's not that relevant to the story anyway. What is relevant is that when Scar finds out Mufasa and Sarabi are together and fall in love, Scar betrays them to the White Lions, I guess? Which at first I thought he was gonna like keep this a secret throughout the entire movie. Like, you know, all the other times Scar has done this. No, he just tells them outright he's betraying them. Which means Mufasa kinda knows actually. Sure enough, they do work together to beat the White Lion, and Scar gets as well Scar. And by the end, Scar says, "I'm no longer Taka," which apparently is trash in, like, Swahili. "I am now Scar," which, I don't know about you, but it kinda makes the first two movies that it's based on kinda fucking worse. I thought the idea was that Scar and Mufasa's relationship was kinda strange. Sure, it was dysfunctional, but it didn't mean that Scar was gonna betray him outright. That's why in this scene it's a shock to Mufasa, because he never thought his brother would do this. But now since he kinda knows his brother is a backstabber, it kinda makes Mufasa really stupid. More so in the 2019 one, since that's based on that movie more. Yeah, I'm gonna keep my brother despite being a big backstabber, and let him hang out with my son a lot. That's a good idea. I guess the point they're trying to say is that family's stronger than blood, which is a good message. But isn't there really no reason why they are not biological brothers? I mean, if they were, the story would have been not much different anyway. But I don't know why they decided to make this choice within the universe. But I have a theory. Part of me thinks that the reason why they did this is that it's possible that they want to make Kovu Scar's son this time. The original idea for Lion King 2, Kovu was Scar's son, but they scrapped it for, well, obvious reasons. And since Kiara is in this, my theory is that they're going to make a remake of Lion King 2. And since they do fall in love in that movie, it could explain why they changed the relationship in this one. But I could be wrong on this. We have to wait and see. This movie makes a bajillion dollars. I just have a bit of a hunch here. One of the biggest problems with this movie is that they try to explain stuff that doesn't really need to be explained. I mean, sure, it kind of does explain some things like, I know, Mufasa and Sarabi's relationship, Scar and Mufasa's relationship, and Scar as well, Scar. But I shit you not, they actually explain where Pride Rock came from by, I don't know, a fucking magical earthquake or something. I'm not fucking joking, it actually does happen within that movie. Like, do we really need an explanation on Pride Rock? It's a rock, who cares? But that's kind of the problem with this universe, is that there's nothing much you can do with here. Other than, I don't know, the bloodline, I guess? And animals talk or something. Once you get down to it, it's a very small and limited universe. And there's not much you could really do unless it gets really, really stupid. So yeah, I think that's all I could really say about Mufasa, because there's really not much to say, really. It is a prequel to the Lion King remake, and the quality was what I expected. It was a bit better than the last one, but it was still kind of shit. And unfortunately, it seems that people didn't really think about paying with their wallet. And sure, you could say I'm also part of the problem, which I agree. But you don't know whether or not I'm watching this in a theater or using the dark internet arts to do so. And the thing is, I agree. I think people should have better media diets. In fact, I can recommend things right now. Here you go. Here's some better things than Mufasa the Lion King. So yeah, overall, check it out. And I'm giving it 4 dead dads out of 10.
Keep it rolling.